All right, what's going on, man? Welcome, Jeff Taylor, to Dad Talk, and I'm so excited to have you on our conversation right here. And I admire you. We've been friends for a very long time, and you've served in our ministry here at our church, and we've been buddies outside of that. And you've DJ'd my daughter's wedding, and you're a dear friend, and I look up to you as a man. And I'm excited to share you with our network and as they get to know who you are and what you do. And I know they're going to love you as well. So welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you inviting me. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So what I want this to be is I want to hear your story. All right. Because we believe that everyone has a story. And when you hear someone else's story, you can start to hear your own and be encouraged to share that story. And so we want to hear your story. All right. So go ahead and give me your story.
My story. Well, I guess started from the beginning.
In the beginning.
In the beginning. As far as my faith walk, it started later on in life. I mean, I was a kid that was made to go to Sunday school, but it was just one of those things where I had to go, and I didn't really get much out of it. I definitely had a faith. We did pray or bless the table, as we say. I did pray from time to time, but it wasn't a true relationship with God. That didn't come until I was in my late 20s, when I was thinking about getting married, thinking about raising a family, knowing I needed some type of special direction to be focused on. And that's where that came from.
Yeah.
And then as life goes on, you kind of get pulled away from it. And then when your kids start coming, you want to make sure they have an example for them. And when we relocated to Charlotte, North Carolina, that's what brought us to church. Trying to find my youngest son, trying to find a good example for him and a place where he can grow and flourish. And that's how we found Max Life. Before that was Met Kids, so that's how we found Mecklenburg, and he loved it. And I said, man, if he loves it, then I love it. And I'm gonna find a place where I can fit in and feel good and grow and be helpful. And that was Max Life. And ever since then, I heard you talk and saw your energy, and then when I met Megan, it was like, oh yeah, this is definitely where I'm going to be. Even though my kid is 10 years out and on his way, I'm coming back to help and serve in any capacity that I can.
Right.
So
I
that,
love it,
that,
man. I love it. Awesome faith story. But I want you to take us back. Like, let us get to know Jeff Taylor, DJ Jeff. Let us get to know him. Like, where you from? Talk about your parents. What does that look like growing up? And I want to hear that story as well.
okay. So originally from New York City, born and raised, best city in the world, never leaving, going to be there forever.
Do you agree, before you go any further, do you agree that the New York City has the best baseball team in all of the world?
The most expensive and the most successful.
Yes,
So
but the best too, right? Go Yankees. All right, go ahead. So you're born in New York.
Well,
All right,
I
where did you
assume
live
we're
in New
talking
York? What did
about
that
the
look like?
Yankees and not the Mets. But yes, I am a Yankee fan.
Good, good. Now, so all right, so you're born in New York. Where, like, what did that look like? Where were you at in New York?
So I was actually born in Queens, New York, one of the boroughs. I am a product of my mom and dad who were married before. My father divorced his wife for whatever reason, and then my mom's first husband had died.
Mm,
So I have two older siblings. My brother was 15 years older than me. My sister's 17 years older than me, but I'm the only child between Clara and David.
okay.
Um, I was born in the projects of very humble beginnings. And when I was born, my father told my mother, we are not going to live here.
Mm,
Um, and we're going to move out, and I want my son to have a better life. And they moved us. My first house I lived in, I got there when I was about 9 months old. And that's all I know. I don't really remember the projects. I had family there. I would go back there to visit. I'm referred to as the baby when I would go back because I
oh
was
yeah.
the baby that moved out. But and then from there, unfortunately, my parents divorced before I was 10 years old.
Mm,
So I don't really have I didn't have a good relationship with my dad
Mm.
because those formative years he wasn't in my life. He moved back to Alabama where he was from.
Oh, wow.
So I would get cards from him from time to time, but it wasn't much conversation.
Mm.
And then they remarried when I was 16.
Oh,
And
really?
but I was already kind of formed and had my own opinions and things by then. We did clash every now and then he died um, before I was 17. He actually never got a chance to move back home, so he was only there to visit before he was able to. He was trying to sell his house in Alabama, and he had actually died in Alabama. So I didn't have those kind of close conversations with my dad growing up and stuff. I remember working with him. He owned his own business. I remember that. I remember always seeing him going to work. My dad owned a floor waxing business and a carpet business, and he would have back then businesses were closed on Sundays. I don't know if
Yep.
you remember those
Yep.
days.
Yep.
So there was he would go to these open air malls. It was just like a row of stores, and he would have keys for every store. So growing up, in my mind, if you had a ring of keys on your hip, you were very important
Oh, nice.
because my dad had keys to everything. And I would go to on a Sunday, I would go with him and open the doors and put wax on the floors so he can wax the floors, or I would sweep to make it easy for him. And I was probably 7 years old, 8 years old
Oh,
then.
wow. Wow.
But so my entrepreneurial spirit, I could say, comes from him because I knew in order to make more, I needed to do more. Um, and As far as DJing, I started DJing when I was about 15 years old. I grew up in Hollis, Queens during Run DMC's time and all that other stuff, LL Cool J. I've done shows with them. I used to play chess with Jam Master Jay. His barbershop was the same barbershop I went to around the corner from my mother's house. So I grew up around music and I was always going to be involved in it. And I always had a full-time job and I DJ'd and I did that. I did my first wedding when I was 19 years old,
Okay.
working for one of my just doing it for my family members, and then I would do it for one of their friends and then one of their friends, and before I knew it, I was doing a business, and it grew and grew and grew, but it never took over my life. I always would work a full-time job and do 50, 60, 70 events a year and still keep a full-time job. I dreamed, to be honest, of being a full-time DJ. Like to me, it would be like being a professional baseball player.
Right.
Imagine doing what you did in school as a living, but it can't be possible. That couldn't work. So I just kept doing my thing. And it wasn't until I moved to Charlotte and prayed about it that it actually came true, you know. Um, but it was some work that I had to let God do
Mhm.
in order to make it happen because I had my first full-time job at 19 when after I finished my first year of college. I got into technology, and I've always had a full-time job. And when I moved here, it was the same thing. But then I got laid off 6 weeks after moving here, and it was just crazy because I was told that my job was secure, and it wasn't. And then I went to find another job, and then I built that company up where it was doubled in volume, and then they let me go. And it was
Mm.
like, what is going on? Like I'm doing well. Why do I keep losing these jobs? And when I came home that day, I told my wife what happened, and she was surprised because I was very close with the owner, and they were all Christ followers, the guys I work with. And I told her, I said, well, he said I could work for 2 more weeks until I find something else, so I can take that 2 weeks as severance and do
Yep.
whatever I want to do. And she said, well, you always wanted to be a full-time DJ. Why don't we just do that? And we prayed about it, and that's what it was. And like that, my life changed. And looking back, I know now that
Yeah.
God was trying to do what I asked him to do. And I kept fighting against him, going, no, I need another job. I need another job.
Yeah. Yeah.
But once that job was out of the way, things just kept growing and growing and growing, where we were doing that best 90 events in a year. And last year we did 178.
Oh,
This year
wow.
we'll probably close out around the same. And it's just been amazing. My wife is now a partner in the business where she's actually helping and doing all the behind scenes stuff. She's out networking.
Mm.
She's getting certificates to help us do business with the city of Charlotte and the state of Charlotte. So it's been a true blessing.
That's amazing. Take us back to where you're here for 6 months, right? Did you come down here for business for your job?
No, we moved for my my daughter. My oldest daughter came here to be a nurse anesthetist. She
Okay.
took an advanced course. It was 18 months, but it was just her 23 other strangers, and they would go to school and go to the hospital and go to school and go to the hospital. And she was a critical care nurse in New York for 3 years before, making a good six-figure income, but she still wanted to do more. And when she came down here, she was doing well, but after a couple of months, she got homesick and she
Okay.
just wanted to quit and come back. And we didn't want that to happen. So we came down to visit. We actually had a family vacation in Charlotte. Said we're going to learn about the city. We're going to show you how great the city is. We'll stay at your apartment complex, go to the pool, do all the stuff so you can love the city. And I thought it was the best idea that I had. And when we left after 5 days, everybody was crying, and it was, it was bad. And then my wife said we need to do something to help support her. And I said, we already support her. We pay for everything. She says, no. She said,
No, Jeff, that's not what I mean.
she said, we need to relocate to Charlotte. And I said, we can't. I got a job in New York. I have a business in New York. We can't do that. It's not going to work. And I put my foot down. And then 2 months later, I was in a moving truck coming to Charlotte.
Nice.
But it was the worst financial decision I ever made, but it was the best decision I made. The struggle here was so much more pleasant than the struggle I had in New York.
Really?
It was just a different thing. And I didn't even realize it until my mother showed it to me. She said, I don't know what you're doing, but you're doing great. She said, I just look so much better. I look so much more relaxed. And I think it had to do with me having my entire family together again.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and it was no more worrying about this one or that one. We were all back together again and just making it work.
But still hard.
It was hard. Yes, it was hard. It was hard, but we got through it, man. I mean, even again coming to the church, and we had a bad tax situation because I got involved with a tax accountant that just wasn't legitimate, to be quite honest with you,
Yeah.
and left me holding the bag on some things that they did wrong, and I couldn't get out of it.
Mm.
And I can talk about it now, but then I couldn't even speak.
Yeah.
And I owed more money to the tax man than I made in 3 years. And no matter what payment I was making, the interest and penalties were just, I was making not a dent,
Yeah.
not a dent in what I owed. Paying $1,500 a month that I couldn't afford, and maybe getting $300 off of a bill that was multiple figures.
Wow.
And it wasn't until getting to, again, going to MEC and meeting a guy in MEC, and then going through the financial class in MEC. And then from there, with Dave, getting a hold of Dave, and then reaching out to his people, found a tax accountant and a tax attorney to help me walk through all that.
Okay.
It took us a year and a half, but
Oh, really?
finally put that behind us. And I remember coming home one day, getting the mail, and I had a check for $12 from the state of North Carolina, $112 from the state of North Carolina. And I came in to show my wife, look, we got a check. And she opens it up. She goes, it's $112. She goes, that's good. I said, are you kidding me? I was in the car crying. That's amazing. That means it's over. We don't owe anybody anything.
Oh, man.
To get back to zero has never been so good.
Wow. I love that. All right. So what part of the journey is you're here for 6 months, get laid off?
6 weeks.
Yeah, 6 weeks. And then
6
you get laid off, and then you find the other job, and then they let you go after a certain time after you build them up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're at a crossroads, right? And so what that feel like? What that look like? Because what I'm hearing from you is like, I've always worked full time. I've always had a full time job.
Always.
And then you've had that. You come here, lose it, get another one, and now you're at a point where like, okay, what does that mean? Like, take me there.
It was humbling because I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong.
Mm.
So when I left New York, I was trying to resign, and they told me not to. They said, we have this remote program. And this is 2015, so there wasn't many remote workers.
Right.
They had a remote program. I was working for a national company, and I was basically going to be the face of this remote work. And I was going to handle the North Carolina work as well as the Florida work. But as I started it, they didn't have enough to keep me busy the way I was in New York. I was a project manager. So they didn't have enough to keep me busy, and I knew that, but I knew it was going to grow. So I was doing some stuff in technology, but it wasn't a lot. I was always checking in with the office, trying different things. And I still had a business in New York that I was flying back and forth to do events.
Okay.
So every weekend, every other weekend I'm flying back. So I needed to have that freedom to move back and forth to maintain that business as well as to maintain the job. And then I got a phone call, and I missed the call. And when I called back, I was told that I talked to his assistant, the regional manager's, the regional director assistant, and they said, "Oh yeah, Jeff, he's definitely going to call you back." I've been in technology since high school, so I know just words.
Yeah. Right.
There's no reason for a assistant to know he's going to definitely call me back. Two reasons. Either everyone's been talking about me because this amazing opportunity came up, or everybody's talking about me because they're getting ready to let me go. Like it could be the only two things. And I already knew business was slow. So when I was resigning and he told me to stay on, I was shocked.
Yeah.
Because business was slow. But I didn't know about this national initiative. So anyway, I was let go. So of course it's devastating because I can't find another job if I'm flying back and forth to New York. So what do? I drove for Uber and Lyft. That's what I did for a couple of months and met some people and said, this will be fun. I'll get to know the city. And I still have the business in New York to kind of maintain. And then again, Christian Brothers, which is an automotive company, repair company, I met the owner of one of their franchises, and he's a Christ follower. And him and I hit it off very well through another networking group, me DJing, and he had a position open. And I thought that'd be great. They only work, during the week. It'd be a job I don't have to bring home with me like I do with technology, and it'd be great. And I interviewed, and he said, Jeff, I'm honored that you would want to work for me. And he says, but you're overqualified. I don't think this job will be challenging enough for you. It was a front desk job. And I told him my life was challenging enough. I didn't need a job to challenge me, but he wanted me to do something more. And he introduced me to a guy who had a technology company, who was another Christ follower. And that's how I got with them. And I thought it was a greater situation because it was part-time. I was working with 5 or 6 other Christ followers from all different parts of the country, all different walks of life, and we would just chop it up together. And it was just an amazing time I would have with them. And that company kept growing and growing, and 4 became 8, 8 became 10. They opened another office down in South Carolina, and then things are really cooking. And he said, I need you to full-time. And I said, okay, but I still need to go back and forth to New York. He says, Jeff, no problem, as long as you let us know. And that was great. And then the business got to that point where he needed to hire more technical staff, but he couldn't afford to keep me and hire more technical staff. I'm basic technical. He needed a high-end tech person, and I wouldn't be able to fill that bill in time. Nor did I want to be quite honest. And he let me go. And he kept saying, Jeff, I'm so sorry. It's not personal. And I would look at him and he would go, I know it's your job. I'm trying not to keep saying it's not personal.
Right.
But we had a good relationship. He said, Jeff, if you want, you can stay on for 2 weeks, or I'll pay you 2 weeks and you can go find something else. And my thought was, how am I going to find something else? I'm stuck in the same situation again. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then when I went home, my wife reminded me of what my prayer was, my goal, or what I really wanted to do. Which was entertain. And came home and prayed about it. I called him right away and said, hey man, I'll take that 2 week severance. He said, yeah, when do you want to come pick up your stuff? I said, can I come by now? Because I didn't want to see the guys with me walking out with my stuff. I said, I'm not ready for that. I'm an emotional guy, as you know. I don't need all the emotions. And he said, Jeff, you still have keys. So whenever you want to go, go. He said, my sons have baseball. He said, we might stop by with the family after. If you're still there, great. If not, don't worry about it. Then when I saw him, his wife came by, we hugged. It was all emotional, but it was still like, I know what I'm getting ready to do.
Yeah.
Like once we prayed, it was like, I didn't worry about a bill. I didn't worry about what was going to happen. I just knew it was going to work.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And how did because like you're like you gave us your numbers a while ago through how much you've been doing since you started last year and this year, and you're rocking and rolling. I don't mean to, does that could be kind of a pun to a DJ, but still, man, I mean, like you're great at your job. Like I said earlier, you've DJ'd my daughter's wedding, and you had the Fish Broad River rocking that night. Celebrated her husband's vows, and it was a beautiful time. And so, How much has I do want to talk about faith because yes, you're a member of the church, but what is your, I hear you speaking to your time Monday through Saturday when you were kind of launching the business and really depending on that with your wife. How much of that, like how raw was your faith at that time, or how real did it actually get between you and God during that moment or during that season?
That's a very good question.
Because I know you well enough, like you love the church, but also like you're a devout believer. And so, what I see with a lot of men, we typically, a lot of us typically, um, go to church on Sunday, work hard all week, but that's about all we do with our relationship with God. And so, how did you dig into it? Because I know you're like, I know you prayed, you had faith, but also, I'm sure fear was a big motivator as well to really light you up
so,
to hustle the business.
so this is the thing. I learned a long time ago, um, and I remember hearing it and it always stuck with me, that I pray like it depends on him, and I work like it depends on me.
100%.
And by doing that, you're covering both sides.
Mm.
So if if you truly believe and you ask for something, now the only thing you need to do is put yourself in a position to receive. By me being let go from all these different positions, even with Uber, they changed Uber's deal while I was driving. Like you all of a sudden you make less money. Like it would just, no matter what I did,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
just wasn't gonna be it.
It's all
And
dead ends.
and it was like, what am I doing wrong?
Mm,
And what it is I'm staying in the way.
mm.
And and I didn't know it at the time. But again, when I came home and my wife said that, it was just like, boom, that yes, get out of the way.
Mm.
Let him work. Like you say, let him cook.
Let him cook.
Just let him cook.
Let
Like
him cook.
why are you in the way?
Mm.
And I mean from booking corporate events now during the week, where I'm in Chicago or Orlando or New Orleans or Louisville, all these different places, it just kept coming.
Yeah.
I'm doing virtual events where I can entertain another corporation for 30 minutes to 40 minutes playing a name that tune, a music bingo online, and make the same money if I worked a full day. Like all these different opportunities that I would have never known about or never been open to, because I'm dedicated to a job,
Yeah.
and I had a business and he would let me have my time off. But if I told him I was working that Wednesday, I'm not going to come call him on Tuesday and say I'm sick because something came up last minute. I just tell someone I'm not available.
Yeah.
Weddings are easy because, as you know, with your business, we book weddings 6 months to a year out.
Yep.
So I can always tell him, hey, I got this coming up, that coming up, and have vacation time, sick time. The guy was always cool with it. But the corporate business is what just came flooding. And then I'm able to now network. I can go to these different network meetings for myself. I was already networking for his business.
Right.
So I had connections to different people and they knew that I was a DJ, but now I can show up and say, hey, I'm Jeff Taylor from Soulful Sounds. This is what we do. And not have in the back of my mind going, okay, let's talk about the IT, talk about the IT. It was just, now I'm the face. Now I'm pushing forward. I'm meeting people. So I can't even say doubt crept in. It wasn't time.
Nice.
He gave me 2 weeks pay. Naturally, you have a little savings anyway. And now it's like, go, just go, put your head down and go. Ooh, all the obstacles are being taken care of.
Yep. Love it. Love it. And what's cool about it too is like you were at this impasse and doors kept shutting, dead ends, running into dead ends, and you take it back to your talents and your interests for a young Jeff Taylor for back in New York when you first launched your love of music, and now you're doing it full time, providing for your family, leaving your legacy all across the country, and people getting to know you. And that's just an amazing story, man. I love it. I knew your story. I didn't know it was I didn't know the details of it like that, but that's amazing. I love it. That's some good stuff. All right, now the last question I want you to ask, I want to ask you is, what are the 4 pillars, your 4 pillars that you have learned and established for being a father?
Mm, Well, one of them is to not keep crying on camera. That's one of them.
Hey, passion leaks or seeps out from everywhere, right? When you're passionate about something, even the eyeballs.
Dude, it is happy tears, I assure you, man. Oh boy, I think of the way I came from and the grace and the testimony today. It's just
Mm,
it gets me.
yep.
But when you had brought this up a couple of months ago with the different guys that we associate with and your network, I kept thinking about it and the things. And when you said you want to, I got to write some stuff down because as you see, I talk too much. So for me, it's faith, family, integrity, being a person of your word,
Mm,
and then open communication with my family. So when my wife and I were first talking about getting together and having kids and stuff, one of the things I remember as a child was for my generation, they didn't tell us anything. You know, you just didn't have conversations. My mom, I remember telling me she loved me. I don't think my dad ever did.
mm,
Um, but there was things about sickness that you had questions about that wasn't talked about. Finances were never discussed, and even when there was problems in the family, they just kind of weren't talked about. And I told my wife when I start having children, I want to be able to talk with my children about anything that happens. I want them to understand. When I asked questions as a child, um, I was told you wouldn't understand until you got older.
mm.
That was just it. And it frustrated me because I was one of those kids that needed to know everything. So I said I would never say that to my kid, and I say it's the fault of the adult that you can't break it down for a child to understand.
Mm.
You know, so anytime we had challenges or even questions, and my if my son had a question, I remember when Andrew, my wife was pregnant with our last, and my son was probably 7 years old, and he wanted to know, where babies came from.
Yeah.
So my wife being a nurse, she got all these books out and everything. I come home from work and she's like, "Oh, he asked, we got to tell him this and tell him that and tell him this." And I go, "Whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You don't need to say all that." So I called him into the bedroom. He sits down. I said, "I heard you want to know where babies come from." He goes, "Yeah, Dad, where do they come from?" I said, "They come from mom's belly." He said, "Great." And he walked away. And my wife looked at me. She goes, "That's it?" I says, "Yeah, only give them what they need. You don't need to make it too complicated." Now, the same thing a couple of years later, where my son was spending some time with some other people in the family, and the marshals came and removed them from the house.
Oh, wow.
Traumatic,
Yeah.
for me because my son is now 800 miles away from me,
Mm.
and 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 he's staying with someone I don't know, with his grandmother and someone I don't know, and everybody's in everybody else's houses because the marshals came and put them out. So the first thing I told my wife is send for my son to come home. And he was put on a plane by himself at 10 years old,
Oh my gosh.
and I went to the airport and picked him up. And as the car driving home, I asked him what happened. And I said, "Do you know why it happened?" And he says, "Yes, Dad, because nobody works in that house."
Mm.
I said, "Okay." I said, "And what goes on in your house?" "You and mommy go to work every day." I said, "Okay." I wanted to make sure he understood what happened. I want to make sure he knows why it happened.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had suicide in my family,
Mm.
and I had to have that conversation. You know, when George Floyd was killed,
Hmm.
I had to have that conversation.
Yep.
But I want to make sure through all walks, I want the child to understand what's going on. I also want to check in with them
Yep.
to make sure they understand. So we always wanted to have that kind of open communication. And I also wanted to tell you, I checked in with my family just to make sure that my pillars were being pushed out because I didn't know for sure. We think this is what we're doing.
Yep.
But when I asked my son, who's 18 now, my youngest, um, I asked him and he said, "You lead by example, not by words.
Mm.
Provide for the family, and you listen to what we say. You listen to what everyone says." And I said, "Okay, that's close. I like that." I asked my wife, and she said, "Integrity, honesty, respect, humor, protect and provider, and faith. You made going to church cool and not corny. Because growing up, we didn't do that. You know, it was like,
Gotcha.
oh, those for the nerds. It's not fun. It's not, you know. And then I asked my daughter, and she said, all the things I learned from you was compassion, caring, understanding, leading by example, integrity, the importance of keeping your word, intelligence, honor, and respect. So I felt pretty good.
Very good, man. There you have it. Dad talk right there. Jeff Taylor. Jeff with Soulful Sounds. Now, Jeff, if I'm wanting to reach out to you, we'll have all your LinkedIn or your email address and social
Yeah,
media.
we're on LinkedIn as Soulful Sounds. We're on Instagram is soulful.sounds1. Facebook is Soulful Sounds NYC. I am book at soulfulsounds.com. That's the best way to reach us. If you want to hit email, Instagram, or any of that, and even if you want to call me, I'm not going to give you my number, but call me anyway. It's on the website, soulfulsounds.com. It's on the website.
We'll post all that for everybody.
.com.
So what else do you do? I've heard weddings. I know that you do corporate stuff. What else do you do? Talk about the games you play or that you offer. Sell some of that.
Yeah, so we're a full service entertainment company. So we offer DJs, MCs, special lighting like uplighting, name on the dance floor, name on the wall, cold sparks, photo booths, dancing on the cloud, all those fun and exciting things we can bring to your location, and we do it well. We also do corporate events. What we've been doing with the corporate events is a lot of times you have these training sessions and you have speaker after speaker after speaker, and you kind of get numb, kind of like doing the same exercise. No matter if you stop and go back the next day, it's the same exercise. You need to work muscles in a different way. Your mind works the same way. So we give you dance breaks. We give you team building breaks. We give you interaction in between to allow it to be fun. So we play games, name that tune, minute to win it games. We do different team building exercises. We also play music bingo. We do all those things like that. So we do a full game show. That's what we've been doing. We're going to be doing all through December in person and virtually, doing different game shows and different music bingo, all that stuff we can do online for you virtually or do it in person as well. And we still do the weddings, and that's what we love to do as well. Yep. Birthdays, bar mitzvahs, all the stuff we do.
Perfect. All right, Dad Talk, Jeff Taylor, Chad Macy, thanks for being here.